Game face on, Riley. Woo! 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 Yeah! Oh yeah! Wait, do that again. Woo! Yeah!
Well, I'm excited to be with you all again tonight. My name is Chet Phillips. Glad to be back. So, has it been a good week?
No!
It's been a great week? Jesus shown up?
No!
All right, well, good. I'm
Just
glad to
kidding.
hear it. So we've been talking this week, we've been looking at how before Jesus, or those of us outside of a relationship with Christ are basically zombies. That the Bible would say we are dead, but we're kind of alive, and so we're just driven around by our passions and by our desires, and that we are not fully in control of ourselves, but that we run around chasing after other things, and that it's only through Jesus that we can be made fully alive. We're going to pick up in verse 17. We're looking at this prophet, this guy who spoke on behalf of God. His name was Elijah. And so he was a prophet of God during a time when the king of Israel was evil, and the king of Israel was leading Israel astray to chase after other gods. And so we're going to be looking at an interaction between the prophet Elijah and this king. And so verse 17, it says, when Ahab is the king of Israel. When Ahab saw Elijah, Ahab said to him, "Is it you, troubler of Israel?" And he answered, "I have not troubled Israel, but you have, and your father's house, because you have abandoned the commandments of the Lord and followed the Baals." What's happening here? What is going on is Elijah is the prophet of God, and he told Ahab had led, as the king of Israel, had led the nation of Israel to follow after Baal. And Baal was the god of the harvest, so he was the god of rain. And so Elijah, on behalf of God, goes to him and says, "Oh, so you're worshiping the god of rain?" He's like, "Yeah, Baal." He's like, "All right, great. God, the God of the universe, says it's not going to rain for a long time. Just want to let you know." And then he leaves. And it doesn't rain for a long time. And that's why Ahab, when he sees Elijah, is like, "Oh, it's the guy who troubles Israel." And he says, "No, you're the one who's troubling Israel. I'm just speaking on behalf of God." "Now therefore send and gather all Israel to me at Mount Carmel, and the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah," which was another god, "who eat at Jezebel's table." Jezebel was the king's wife. So he says, "I'll tell you what." He shows up, says, "I want to talk to the king." So the king comes out and says, "Is it you?" And he says, "Yeah." And then he says, "Get all of Israel and meet me on the top of this mountain, and I want you to bring all your prophets." So verse 22, then Elijah said to the people, even I only, am left a prophet of the Lord, but Baal's prophets are 450 men. Let 2 bulls be given to us, and let them choose 1 bull for themselves and cut it in pieces and lay it on the wood, but put no fire to it. And I will prepare the other bull and lay it on the wood and put no fire to it. And you call upon the name of your God, and I will call upon the name of the Lord. And the God who answers with fire, he is God." And all the people said, "It is well." So we're going to do the 450 prophets of Baal. They're going to get their chance to have God, Baal, send fire down. And I'm going to talk to God, the God of the universe, God, Jehovah Jireh, creator of the world, and I'm going to ask him to send fire. And whichever God sends fire, we'll go ahead and say that's God. Is that fair? People of Israel said, "Yeah, that sounds fair." Is that fair? Yeah, fair? Sound like a good idea? It's well spoken, so they said. That'll work. And so he says, here's what we're going to do. God versus Baal. Creator of the universe versus harvest God. Creator of rain, inventor of the solar system, inventor of condensation, inventor of precipitation, versus the guy who is over top of grain and grass and that sort of thing. And we'll see who wins. Sunday. So they set up this epic fight between 2 gods. And he says, we're going to figure out which one's real. And they say, "Okay, I'll do it." And they took the bull that was given to them, and they prepared it and called upon the name of Baal from morning until noon. So for several hours, 450 men set up a bull on an altar, and they call out to Baal for several hours. And morning till noon, they say, "Oh, Baal, answer us." But there was no voice. No one answered. And they limped around the altar that they had. At about noon, Elijah started making fun of them. And they cried aloud. It made them work harder. They cried aloud and cut themselves after their custom with swords and lances until the blood gushed out upon them. And as midday passed, they raved on until the time of the offering of the oblation, but there was no voice. No one answered. No one paid attention. 450 men danced around an altar, cut themselves, screamed at the top of their lungs, and no one listened and no one paid attention. Verse 30. Then Elijah said to all the people, "Come near to me." And all the people came near to him. And he repaired the altar of the Lord that had been thrown down. Elijah took 12 stones, according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Jacob, to whom the word of the Lord came, saying, "Israel should be your name." And with the stones he built an altar in the name of the Lord, and he made a trench about the altar as great as would contain 2 seahs of seed, which would be about 7 quarts. So he builds this altar, and he digs a trench around it, and he put the wood in order, and he cut the bull into pieces, and he laid it on the wood, and he said, "Fill 4 jars with water, and pour it on the burnt offering of the wood." Now, he builds this altar. He cuts his bull up on it. He sets the wood on it. He goes, "You know what? This is looking too easy. Let's pour water on it." So they pour water on it. He goes, "Not enough water. Let's pour more water on it." So they pour more water on it. He says, "Still not enough water." So they pour more water on it. Now, it hadn't rained in a long time. It is hot. It is dry. And this water is soaking down and has filled this trench around it. And you can almost see the steam rising off of it as it's hot and dry, but this is soaking wet. And it's dripping. And Elijah says, verse 36, "And at that time of the offering of the oblation, Elijah the prophet came near and said, 'O Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known this day that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant, and that I have done all these things at your word. Answer me, O Lord, answer me, that this people may know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you have turned their hearts back.' Then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt offering and the wood and the stones and the dust and licked up the water that was in the trench. And when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces and said, 'The Lord, He is God. The Lord, He is God.'"
We're just going to take this time to sing some more songs. Feel free to continue what you're doing, to continue to pray, continue to journal. Yeah, we invite you to come sing with us. Take the world, but give me Jesus. All its joys are but a name, but His love abideth ever through eternity. No years the same. Take the world, but give me Jesus. Sweetest come. His constant smile. Then throughout this life's long journey, He will lead me all the while. Take the world, but give me Jesus. In His cross, my trust shall be. Till when clearer, brighter vision, face to face, my Lord, I see. Take the world, but give me Jesus. Take the world, but give me Jesus.
I love you so much.
Love you, dog. Awesome. I love you, dog.
Love you. I'm not leaving you out.
Pray with somebody or be prayed for. But if you're ready to head downstairs and begin our encouragement time with the cards, let's do that quietly and not be noisy down there so we can focus. This is our last night to do it, okay? So head on down unless you want to hang out up here for a little longer. Miss Blair Watson, she's on fire. I'm serious. She's on fire.
And if it wanted to help, like, with the light stuff and really helpful. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right.
Well, hey, I want to kick it off with some verbal encouragement time. Great job with the cards. You really got the spirit is bright in those cards. And by the way, I'll remind you again, hopefully before we leave tonight, make sure you grab your own encouragement bag out of there so that you can take it with you tonight and read them or pack it away and just keep it. And I will say this, keep those bags. Or you don't have to keep the bag, but keep the cards at least. Those are cool, and those are something you'll cherish. Like, I know it sounds like old man talk, hashtag old man talk, but like years down the road, you're gonna be like, man, these cards are awesome. Like, I'm so glad I have these from my, sophomore, junior, senior year or whatever. So just hold on to those things. I keep them on my desk at work and I read them. So let's go ahead and start it with some verbal encouragament.
He's like 4 years old and sees Joshua. And today, I asked him if he wanted to say a prayer with me, but he told me he didn't know how. So, like, he sat on my lap, and I was, like, saying the prayer, or whatever I would say, he would, like, recite it with me. And it was just so cute to see, like, how, like, already his, like, strength and, like, thought is so strong. Because, like, he already knows so much, like, everyone taught him and everything. So,
That's cool.
I'm excited for tomorrow to see him.
That's awesome. Good.
I just want to add to Kelsey's story. Like, at the first day, like, Kelsey told us, like, she does not like kids and kids hate her. This little boy, literally, yesterday, when we were leaving, he started screaming and crying because he didn't want her to leave. And then all day, he was just like, how do you see my best friend? Where's my best friend? Where's Kelsey? I want to see my best friend. Every time he went away from her. And I don't know, it's just really something.
Every day I see him, like, Kelsey! And he'll, like, run to me. Like, I'm ready to see my mom! And I'm like, okay. Like, this is my mom, this is my auntie, this is my cousin, this is my brother. And I'm like,
You guys have been so encouraging. Each and every one of you you guys are so special. And as me as a freshman saying this, I couldn't ask for better seniors. You guys have been so inspiring, and I understand that it's really sad to leave your high school group and leave high school altogether. But don't be sad, be inspired. You have your whole life ahead of you. And I just want to thank you guys so much for being here with us.
Good work. Absolutely.
If I could, I would go through like every one of you because like this week has been awesome. You've all been really great, but especially like the girls I get to room with, Joe and Rachel and Sarah.
Oh, right there.
Sarah. Y'all have been great, and we've had some weird moments. And thank you, Sarah, for putting up with us because we're crazy.
Really from the bottom of my heart want to encourage my friends, my closest friends. They've been friends with me for 2-3 years, some of them beyond 10, and they have sculpted my life and molded me to be the person who I am, and they've been brothers with me in Christ. And to leave some of them and to move on in my life, it's going to be rough. But I really want to encourage my closest friends, because without them I would be completely different. I might not even met Jesus. So seriously, I love you guys, and I wish the best for you.
I want to encourage Maddie just because this whole week, like, she's been so awesome about communicating with all the people in Finley Park, and she just knows, like, when it's time to step away from a conversation because it's become more of a debate than spreading God's love. And when, like, if we're sitting down for too long, she always starts conversations with other people, so I think she's awesome.
Good job, Maddie.
I love all of y'all, but I want to give some special love to the Kids Side 2 team. Just amazing. And it's a special shout out to Heather today. She got to lead a girl to Christ. So just an awesome experience.
Good shot.